Hello, everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Mike.
I'm Chickling.
Are you?
Oh, yeah, of course.
You're wearing a mask, I can't tell. But I like how it matches your outfit.
Thank you.
Is that because you're following a strange law that says your mask must match your outfit?
Yeah, maybe.
Really?
It's my own law.
Well, that's a good law to have. I've never heard of that law in the real world. But today we are actually looking at some weird and wonderful strange laws. That's kind of the title. The weird and the wonderful strange laws around the world.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of us would expect normal laws like you can't kill people. You can't steal money from a bank. You know, those are sort of normal laws I think every country would have.
Yeah.
But as we will be learning for today and tomorrow, there are some really strange laws.
Like mine.
That once you hear about them, you'll go, what? Really? Why is that a law? I remember one. When I was a kid in Canada, they made a big announcement. We're getting rid of like 100 strange laws from the law book of Canada. And one of them I do remember, I guess it was from when cars first appeared on the road, right? And everyone was used to riding horses.
Yeah.
And cars were kind of strange and probably kind of dangerous back then. But the law was, okay, so you're in your car, you're a rich lady in Canada, you have a brand new car, but to drive on the road, you would have to have a man walk 40 feet or about 10 meters in front of your car, waving a red flag, and have another man walking behind your car, waving a red flag.
To ensure safety?
So that people were safe and maybe horses wouldn't get scared by the loud noises. But that law was still a law in 1990, when, of course, people didn't have red flags, you know. So that was one of the examples that I thought of when I read this. So there are these weird laws. Many of them, like that law, are from hundreds of years ago, but they're still actually, you know, in the rules.
Yeah.
So let's look at some of these weird and wonderful, strange laws around the world.
Reading.
The Weird and the Wonderful. Strange laws around the world. Every country has its laws. Laws should help to make sure that people live in safety and are treated fairly. A good law should be clear and easy to follow. Not every law is that obvious, though, and some are just plain weird. Join us as we take a look at some of the world's strangest laws. UK. It's against the law to wear armor in the Houses of Parliament. The 700-year-old Bearing of Armor Act was put into action by King Edward II. It was to stop nobles from threatening people with weapons in Parliament. But oddly, the law remains. It's funny to imagine a member of Parliament dressed as a knight today. Milan, Italy. People must smile unless at funerals or hospitals. Wipe away those tears. There's to be no crying in Milan, as an ancient law requires you to always smile while in the city. That is, unless you're attending a funeral or visiting a hospital. In that case, cry all you want.
All right, so the article begins by just talking about laws, normal laws like we would expect to find. Every country has its laws. That's right. They're different from country to country, but many of them might be the same, and a lot of them kind of make sense. Laws, the article explains, should help to make sure that people live in safety and are treated fairly. Yeah, that's why we have laws. And what is a law? A law is basically like a rule or a regulation. That's another word you might hear. But laws are backed up by the government. If you break laws, the police might get involved and things like that. Rules might be in your house or at your school. You have a rule, but it might not be so much trouble if you break the rule. If you break a law, though, it can be big trouble. And, you know, laws sort of keep the world in order and keep things peaceful generally. Yeah.
OK， 所以每个国家其实都有自己的法律，那法律应该就是有助于确保大家的生活很安全，然后大家是受到公平对待的。所以这下面的文章继续说 ，A good law should be clear and easy to follow.
Okay.
所以一个好的法律应该是清晰，然后是易懂的。
Yeah, absolutely. As the article says, a good law should be clear and easy to follow. It should make sense to everyone, right? I think that is something we can all agree on. Not every law is that obvious, though, and some are just plain weird. Okay, so now we're getting into the weird and wonderful. Not every law is that obvious, though. Something is obvious, it's easy to understand. It's not hard to, don't steal from people, don't hurt people or kill people. That's obvious, right? If we ran around hurting people, then, the world would be a very dangerous, violent place. But some of these laws are just plain weird. Now, here where we use the adverb plain, we're not using it as an adjective, like a plain donut or a plain pizza has nothing on it. It's very simple, right? If we use it as an adverb, especially when talking about understanding, we're talking about it's very clear, it's very simple. It's kind of like the word obvious or obviously. Plain we often use in the same kind of way. There's nothing more about this than just what you see in front of you. For example, my friend said that this movie wasn't very exciting, but I think it's just plain boring. When he said not exciting, I thought maybe no car chases or gunfights, but no, it's just boring. It's plain boring. Nothing more than that.
所以不是每个法律呢都是可以合情合理的，有些是 plain weird。那老师刚刚已经形容这个字 plain 在这边是副词，它是指完全的或十分的意思。So weird 就是奇怪的，所以就是十分的奇怪。那我们再造一个句子。It was plain stupid of me to not listen to my gut feeling.
It was clearly just simply stupid. That's all.
对，就是没有听自己的直觉，是我太笨了。
Okay, well, it's also you're not making any excuses, right? You're saying, no, I was just really not smart that day. All right, so let's look at the article. Join us as we take a look at some of the world's strangest laws. Of course, we could also call them the world's weirdest laws as well.
所以今天我们就来介绍一下世界上奇特的法律。
All right, so the first country that has a weird law, and it probably has more than one weird law, is UK, United Kingdom, Great Britain, London, Scotland, England, that place. So in the UK, it says it's against the law to wear armor in the Houses of Parliament.
Okay.
Today?
I don't know.
Who has armor? Right? I mean, okay, that's a kind of a weird law, but I guess, yes, this is a law from hundreds of years ago. But if you do visit London, if you do go to the Houses of Parliament, or the House of Parliament, which is made up of two big groups, this is, of course, that big building where the British government does a lot of their work, right next to the famous clock tower with Big Ben. That's what we call that. The Houses of Parliament made up of the House of Lords, the upper chamber, and the House of Commons. The lower chamber where you will find the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, of course, will be in there.
Yeah, 所以老师刚刚讲到这个很奇怪的法律，我们先看一个单字 armor， 这个就是中世纪士兵会穿的盔甲。所以文章说，在英国的议会呢，大厦里面穿盔甲其实是违法的。那老师刚刚一直有提到这个 Houses of Parliament， 它就是英国的国会议会。
Okay, so where is this? We know where. When is this law from? That's probably quite important. And yes, we find out exactly when. The 700-year-old Bearing of Armor Act, that's the name of the law, was put into action by King Edward II. Very, very interesting. So this is called the Bearing of Armor Act. If you put on your armor and go into the House of Commons today, they would say, I'm sorry, madam, we are arresting you for breaking the Bearing of Armor Act because you are bearing armor. To bear something is to carry something, maybe to have something. We often wouldn't use it to wear, but if you're holding something in your arms or if you have something with you, this is sort of an older formal term to talk about bearing. In some laws in America, it might say it is illegal to bear arms or bear weapons or bear a gun in a public place. To carry it, have it with you, have it on your body or something like that. And an act, well, an act is kind of like a law. There's different legal reasons why we might call it an act and not a law. But when we see it in a title like that, the Bearing of Armor Act, we can think of it as reading the Bearing of Armor Law. All right.
OK， 所以老师刚刚讲到这个其实就是个法律，就是 Bearing of Armor Act， 这个是英国在1313年通过的法案。那老师刚刚说 bear 这个字指的是携带或具有，那在这边是动名词嘛？那 armor 我们这个是如果有一个 u 的话，它是英式的拼法。那一般来说，如果是美式用法，我们直接把 u 拿掉也是 OK， 所以它就是盔甲。那么 act 在这边指的是法案。那我们也看到 put something into action， 这个就是把什么东西实行。所以这个法令呢，其实就是英王爱德华2世他实行的。
All right. Now, since King Edward II was a terrible king, I think he probably had a reason to be worried, right? Worried that a knight or a powerful warrior would put on armor and come into the House of Commons and kill him. If he was a popular king, he probably wouldn't have this problem, would he?
That's
so
true.
there you go. That might be something to do with it. It says the law, it was to stop nobles from threatening people, or the king, with weapons in Parliament. But oddly, the law remains. Yeah, that's the weird part. This made sense 700 years ago, but when was the last time people wore armor? Probably about 400 years ago, 400 years ago. But the law remains. It's still there. It's still a law in the UK. So a noble would be a person from a rich, powerful family, probably from back in the past. Nobles wouldn't be the king or the queen or the prince, but maybe dukes or lords or earls, the people the king and the queens would be friends with. And there we had the verb to threaten. When you threaten someone, you make someone feel that they will be in danger. You're kind of promising danger to them. You might not actually touch them, but you say, ooh, if you do that again, I'm gonna hurt you. That is to threaten someone. So again, you haven't actually done it, but you're kind of saying you will or promising you will. You hope that your words will stop them from doing the thing that you don't want them to do. Of course, it's not nice to threaten people. It could even break the law if you threaten people because, you know, it's not a nice thing to say that you will hurt other people. But if you do say that, if you do threaten someone, the words that you say, the promise that you made, the thing that you're trying to scare them with, that is, to use the noun form, a threat. So you can say it or you can write it in a letter or in a message. And if you're saying, watch out, because if you do something wrong and I don't like it, I might hurt you. For example, the gangster threatened the police officer who was about to arrest him. Gosh, that's probably not a good idea.
Threaten 就是威胁，所以我们会说 threaten someone with something， 就是用什么东西去威胁或恐吓一个人。那其实它的名字就是 threat， 所以呢，有没有时候会说 empty threat？ 那它其实就是一个单纯吓唬人的事情，你就觉得它可能是假的。所以比如说 her dad threatened to throw her out, but she knew it was just an empty threat。她知道她爸爸只是讲的那种感觉。
All right, and we also had the word weapon. That's right, you can't carry weapons or wear armor into the Houses of Parliament in Britain. What is a weapon? Well, it's something that you hurt people with. Back in the old days, it might be a sword or a knife or a big pointy stick. But these days, it's probably a gun or something like that. Bombs are weapons. We have all sorts of weapons from tanks and airplanes and the weapons that they can shoot or drop to guns or knives, or I guess if you're Bruce Lee or Jackie Chan, your hands are a weapon.
Yeah.
My hands are not a weapon.
Mine either.
My hands are good for washing.
Okay.
Chopping vegetables. But that knife that I use to chop the vegetables, that could be a weapon. Yeah, absolutely. Here's an example sentence. It is illegal to have a weapon in your car.
Okay.
I think that's true.
Okay, maybe.
Why would you want a weapon in your car?
If you hide it privately, nobody knows. Uh-huh.
No, but it's still illegal.
Okay. So don't break the law.
Yeah, don't break the law. Don't bother with weapons. Just be nice to people.
OK， 所以 weapon 就是武器嘛，所以我们现在大家就比较争议的这件事情就是核武器。那其实核武器英文就是 nuclear weapon， 所以你可以说 some people think that nuclear weapons pose a threat to everyone。有些人觉得核武呢对每个人会造成威胁。你看这个 threat， 我们刚刚 we talked about the word earlier。好，那我们再看一下文章。所以这个 Bearing of Armor Act 这一个法律呢，它就是为了阻止贵族在议会中用武器去威胁别人。不过奇怪的是，现在都没有人戴盔甲了。But the law still exists.
That's right. It still exists. And as the article says, it's funny to imagine a member of parliament dressed as a knight today. Yes, to see a member of parliament today get out of a car or get out of the subway and walk into the House of Parliament, clang, 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 in their suit of armor, that would be really weird. So that's why this is one of those old laws. By the way, we should mention that it is probably still illegal to bring weapons into the House of Parliament. That's still a law. But wearing armor, that might not be a law anymore. And here we had that word knight. Yeah, imagine a member of Parliament today dressed up like a knight. So yes, back in the old days, knights, of course, they wore armor and they had weapons like swords and knives and spears and things like that. Because when we think of a knight, we're thinking of a warrior, kind of like a soldier, but a warrior from hundreds of years ago. Knights might have been really powerful people who owned land and lived in castles and might have even been friends or possibly even family of the king or the queen of the time. These are the people in pictures who would wear the armor. They would have a big shield, probably with a special design just for their family on it. And of course, they would ride horses into battles and fight with swords. And it was all very fun and Game of Thrones type of thing. Those would be knights back then. These days, we still actually have knights. Well, British people have knights. If you're a sir or something, or a dame, that's the female version of a knight. But they're not people who fight. They're people who've done good work for the country, and as a sort of prize or reward, they become knights, but they're not expected to wear armor or fight battles carrying swords. But let's look at an example sentence about the old type of knight, the warrior soldier type of knight from history. It says, the French knights got off their horses to prepare for battle. Oh, so these knights went into battle not on a horse, but on foot. Probably not a good idea.
哈哈，所以 knight 它其实就是骑士的意思，所以有时候我们会说 a knight in shining armor.
Oh, yes. What a good image from a fairy tale or
真的
something.
So you can say that in the story, the princess waits for a knight in shining armor to come and rescue her.
Like your Charlie.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he's actually wearing knight in shining armor.
He is. He'll come and rescue you from feeling sad.
Yeah, he always does that in my dreams. Like every time I get attacked by an enemy.
He protects you like a knight, but he's a little dog, and you don't have armor for him.
No.
You should.
Oh, okay, maybe I should get one.
All right.
好，所以呢，想象一下今天一位议员打扮成骑士的样子，应该蛮好笑的。
Okay, so that's enough about knights and armor and even the UK. Let's move on to another country with crazy laws. This one comes from not far from the UK. We're still in Europe. We're in Italy. And apparently this is a law in only one city in Italy, but the city of Milan, or Milan, as Italians might say. Of course, not the capital, Rome, but Milan. It's sort of the business capital of Italy. It's where all the big fashion companies and car companies, they're all around the city of Milan. So what's the law there? People must smile unless at funerals or hospitals.
Okay.
Anywhere else you go in Milan, you have to smile.
Okay.
That is a weird law.
Okay.
All right, but not at a funeral or a hospital. That makes sense because a funeral is one of those, maybe a religious ceremony or maybe just something for family and friends when a person dies. We often have a funeral before you take the body and put it in the ground or something like that. People will come, they will cry, they will make speeches, maybe sing songs if it's in a church. And of course, everyone will be like, oh, I'm so sorry for your loss. And they'll say nice things about the dead person and show great kindness towards the people who are left behind, the family or the husband, the wife of the person who died. All of this will kind of happen at a funeral. When you get married, that's a wedding, and at the end of your life, that might be a funeral. All right, so that's the kind of place you wouldn't expect people to be smiling. And it might be even weird if you smile at a funeral because it's a sad, serious occasion. For example, Wendy's grandfather's funeral will be in 2 days. Okay. I will go. You're dressed already for a funeral. You're all in black.
Even our masks.
That's a good color for a funeral. There you go. But yeah, they're generally sad. So yeah, smiling would not be expected.
所以呢 funeral 它就是葬礼的意思，所以比如说有一个片语叫做 It's your funeral， 那指的就是哈哈你自己活该啦。比如说 It's your funeral if she breaks up with you, I'm not the one that lies to her.
Oh my gosh.
跟你分手的话不是我的事哦，我不是骗他的人。所以文章的意思是说，意大利的米兰呢，人们必须要一直保持微笑，除非你在葬礼或者是医院。
All right, and next the article tells us to wipe away those tears. All right, when someone says wipe away those tears, they're probably kind of telling you to stop crying. All right, cheer up, stop crying, wipe away those tears, put a smile on your face, that kind of thing. Because tears, of course, is the water that comes out of your eyes when you're crying, or maybe when you're laughing, right? Or maybe you just get some dust in your eye or something like that. But those tears, that's the water that comes out, and you wipe them away if you're trying to sort of dry your face. When we use this verb wipe in this kind of situation, basically we're taking something away by rubbing it, by kind of moving our hand across, or something we're holding in our hand. You would wipe a table to make it clean. You might wipe a window to clean it or to get some water off it, things like that. And you might wipe your hands with a tissue paper. If you can't wash them, you'll get some tissue paper or something like that and wipe your hands, or wipe your tears away. Stop crying. For example, after working in the garden, Jermaine wiped his dirty hands on his jeans.
Ew.
Well, it's his gardening jeans. They're
okay.
dirty anyways. Yeah, don't worry about it.
好，所以呢 wipe 就是擦拭或抹去，所以是有时候我们会说 to wipe something out， 那它就是 to destroy something completely.
My hands are clean, by the way.
Okay, yeah, that's good, that's good. 所以你可以说 the earthquake wiped out the whole town. That's so sad.
Magic, as if God came along and just did that kind of thing. That, of course, would be a terrible, terrible situation. And also not a time to smile. So back to the article about you have to smile in Milan, except if it's a funeral or what was the other one?
It's the hospitals.
Yes, when you're visiting a hospital, that's right. There's to be no crying in Milan. It says, as an ancient law requires you to always smile while in the city.
好，我们来看一下今天的文法，这个 be V to V 这个字就是要有什么能有什么的意思，那用法就是为了让别人知道说要做后面这个动作，那它可以是一个规则，所以比如说 all staff members are to wear uniforms， 所以代表所有的员工呢都是必须要穿制服的。那这边文章说 there's to be no blah 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 no crying blah blah blah， 这指的是在米兰是不能哭泣的，因为古老的法律要求你在城市中始终保持微笑。
So you must always smile in Milan. That is, the article concludes, unless you're attending a funeral or visiting a hospital, as you say. In that case, cry all you want. Yes, if someone has died in your family and you're at the funeral, you can cry. And if you're at the hospital and someone is really sick or even dying there, you're allowed to cry. But any other time, I want to see a smile on your face in Milan.
所以 that is to say 就是也就是说怎么样呢？如果是这样的话 in that case 那样的话，那除非你在葬礼或者是医院，你就尽情的哭泣吧。
All right, it's time for our chat question, so let's go check it out. Smile. Are you smiling?
Can you see?
I can't see.
Oh, okay.
For you chat.
All right, here's our chat question. It's kind of an interesting one. Would you be able to live in Milan if you had to smile all the time? Please explain your answer. So let's say this law is really a law, and you were thinking of going there, and they say, okay, you move in, come here, work here, live here, but you got to smile all the time.
I think it's a yes for me because, you know, I actually studied smiling, the benefits of smiling a few weeks ago. And,
Really?
you know, we have like, well, smiling helps you a lot in so many
I've heard
ways.
people say if you smile, you will just feel happier.
Yes, and then you make people around you happy too.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point. Wouldn't I find sometimes if you smile, like you go to a party and you're always chatting with people, your cheeks hurt. Your face hurts after an hour or two.
And it actually gives you wrinkles if you smile.
It does, yeah. Your eyes might have more wrinkles.
Yeah.
Interesting. So you could have a really good skin cream company, face cream company in Italy. Everyone's smiling. You'd be like, I have the answer to your wrinkle problem. Smile. How about you guys? If you had to smile, it's not because you want to smile or you feel happy. No, you have to smile. Would you be able to do that all the time? Have a chat about that, and we'll see you back here tomorrow with more weird, wonderful, and wacky laws from all around the world.
Vocabulary Review. Plain. Why did you cross the road without looking? That was just plain stupid. You almost got hit by a car. Threaten. The man was taken away by the police officer for threatening his neighbor with a large stick. Weapon. The police officers managed to find the weapon the man had used to attack the woman. Knight. During the Battle of Agincourt, most of the French knights were killed by arrows. Funeral. Many people attended the president's funeral after he died because he was such a popular man. Wipe. After you've finished eating dinner, make sure you wipe the table. I don't want it to be dirty.
智慧小补帖
Weird. Armor. Noble.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net